All right, so this is a crypto phone. And I know what you're thinking. What the hell is a crypto phone and why would anyone want that? And that's exactly what I was thinking when this first crossed my radar. So this is an upper mid-range Android phone with crazy material choices from a brand you've never heard of with some specific crypto features built in that launched at $1,000. Now I know I have been notably skeptical on crypto and Web3 and blockchain and the metaverse and all that sort of stuff over the past couple of years. So you may consider me biased, but I still think if you took the crypto out of this phone, it would at least have potential. I'm serious. Let me explain. So the story of this phone actually starts all the way back with the Essential phone. So I don't know how many of y'all remember the Essential phone back in 2017, but that was a really interesting and exciting new development in the smartphone world. We don't get that many genuinely promising new phone companies coming along and doing good things, but that's exactly what this Andy Rubin startup was promising when they came out with their first phone. It was just this refreshing sort of minimal design. There were no protruding camera bumps, no big logos or branding. They were one of the first to do this camera notch here at the top of the screen with the thin bezels, and they were one of the only ones using these super premium materials, the titanium rails and polished ceramic on the back. And then it just had some pins on the back with some magnets for attaching some modular accessories. Just some genuinely interesting, really cool ideas on top of some super clean software. Now, unfortunately, this experiment didn't really catch on. You know, this unfortunate combination of high price, mediocre cameras, not that strong of a feature set for regular people to care, launching as a Sprint exclusive. All of this led to extremely low sales. And then the company would go on to dynamite itself after a bunch of info about Andy Rubin comes out. And so we would not get to see a second try an Essential Phone 2. Now, it sucks to see a promising company with a ton of talent just disappear like that. But something that happens a lot of times when these businesses dissolve is the teams that worked on stuff sometimes will pop up somewhere else and work on something else. And so sure enough, in 2020, a bunch of the engineers from the original Essential team got back together to form a new company called Awesome, and they would announce their first project, the Awesome OV1, basically the spiritual successor to the Essential phone. And you can see a lot of similarities and continuity in this announcement. They talked about these crazy materials again, this titanium and polished ceramic and the rectangular design. But they also then tried to correct a bunch of the things that doomed the original Essential phone. It is noticeably bigger and with a bigger screen, bigger battery, etc. But, shocker, they didn't really get enough interest in this brand new startup phone to be able to bring this whole idea back to life. It's the classic enthusiast phone problem where like it's a cool idea and some people really, really want it, but there's not enough hype to be able to make the whole thing happen. That is until Solana came along. So Solana is a Web3 company looking for new projects, and Awesome is this hardware team looking for some backing to make this phone happen. So Solana would bring the cash and bring their backing, Awesome would bring their hardware talent, and they'd partner together to turn the OV1 into this rebranded Solana Saga crypto phone. And it would be $1,000. And that's this phone right here. So all right, where do we start? There's basically three things that make this a crypto phone instead of just another regular Android phone. It's the Solana mobile stack, the Seed Vault, and the D App Store. So okay, outside of those things, this OV1, or the Solana phone, is actually a very average Android phone. Like specs-wise, it's a Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, so that would be last year's flagship chip, but then 12 gigs of RAM and half a terabyte of storage, although it's unclear if it's fast UFS 3.1. But it's a nice big 6.67-inch flat 1080p 120 Hz display at the front that gets decently bright, but it is not LTPO, it's just a fixed refresh rate. And then it's powered by a 4100 milliamp hour battery with wireless charging. Not great for the size of this screen, but not tiny. And then it's IP68 water and dust resistant with a micro SD card slot for storage expansion. But then a pair of really mediocre cameras on the back. It's got the same 50 megapixel main camera sensor that's in the ROG Phone 7 and the Oppo Find X5 Pro, but with worse software. And that's paired with a 12 megapixel ultra wide camera, both of which can pretty much only produce in perfect lighting, after which things fall apart very quickly with a lack of detail, excessive noise, just no really impressive strengths. Just a really very heavily mixed bag here. But there are two things about this phone that actually I'm very impressed by, that I really like, okay? Number one is the materials again, just this world-class build quality. Because like I said, it's basically the same team, the awesome OV1 team, that came from the original Essential phone. And so they have this affinity for super high quality materials. So we're talking matte stainless steel frame with colored titanium buttons and a full ceramic back, which yes, picks up fingerprints everywhere other than the fingerprint reader, but dude, this phone is a tank. This phone is also very heavy. It weighs like 250 grams, which is more than an iPhone 14 Pro Max. It's got these nice squared off sides that I really like. There's absolutely no squeaking, creaking, flexing at all. It's just this hilariously well-made packaging of these average specs. But then two, the other thing I really like, aside from the crypto stuff, the software itself, once you get into it, is actually extremely clean. Very clean, like stock Android. So it is Android 13, and who knows when it'll get Android 14, if at all, but you can dig through everything, and it is very quick and responsive and clean everywhere. It's the stock Android quick settings, the stock Android wallpaper and customization screens, all these stock Google apps, the clock, the calendar, Chrome, everything. Now, does any of this justify a $1,000 price tag? Okay, well, let's see. It's got last year's flagship spec, kind of weak cameras, weak battery, not that amazing of a screen, but it's stock Android and good build. Not really worth $1,000, right? So that's why literally less than a year after it came out, the price plummeted from $1,000 to $600. So now the real question is, would anybody pay $600 for a barely above average, well-built Android phone that happens to have some crypto features built in? I guess this is the part where I have to go over all of the crypto and Web3 features. So, all right, like I mentioned earlier, there's three things that make this a crypto phone. So the Solana mobile stack is an SDK for apps to connect to the Solana blockchain, which, I mean, it's cool that it's built in, but the obvious downside being this does not work with any other blockchain. So no Bitcoin, no Litecoin, no Ethereum. This is just focused on the Solana blockchain. Then the seed vault is basically dedicated storage of a 24-phrase seed stored in a secure environment where the Android OS cannot see them, so that would let you unlock your wallet. And then the last feature is something I've been calling a D-App Store, which is literally a second app store on this device that's specifically for crypto apps, crypto-focused stuff. So Phantom Wallet is on here, OKX, a crypto exchange, is on here, Brave Browser, things like that. There's an app called Minty Fresh that lets you turn photos from your camera roll into NFTs in a few seconds and a few clicks, if you're into that, I guess. But those are the only three things that really make this a crypto phone. And one of them, the D-App Store, is not really even that special because it is coming to other phones and you'll be able to get it on a non-crypto phone. So there's that too. Now the other stuff, I think you can actually make an argument is really, really cool to have built into the phone and actually secure like that. And if you are in the Solana ecosystem, this is the only place you can get that stuff. But man, I feel like that's about the most niche feature possible. Like, remember we were just talking about the Zenfone 10, how I love that phone. It's a super great phone. It's just a shame it won't sell because not as many people like small phones. Do you think the number of people who are in the Solana ecosystem and want to buy a phone that has some of those features built in is greater than or less than the number of people who want a small phone? Basically, the number one coolest thing to come out of this project, to me, is exposing me to this thing right here, which is the cable that comes in the box for this phone. This is a braided USB-C to USB-C cable, but not just any cable. At the end here is a hard switch that blocks all data and only lets power through, just making it a charging cable. And that's actually pretty sick. Highly effective for preventing something called juice jacking attacks, where if you plug into like a public outlet somewhere, but that outlet is malicious and is gonna try to upload malware to your device or download photos or something, this cable will not let that happen, just blocks all data. So if you're plugging into an extremely rare public USB-C port, this is actually a great tool to have. but it's also not that special, and it's available on Amazon for like 30 bucks. So I'll also link that below. So at this point, I don't even have to really tell you, but the Crypto phone is basically a pretty standard Android phone with a couple kind of cool but extremely niche crypto features for one specific crypto stack, one that happens to also be tanking pretty hard and has been tanking for months. And I also don't even really have to tell you that there's basically no reason for 99.99% of people to buy this. Even if you were to try to buy this phone just for a nice, clean, stock Android phone and just totally ignore all the crypto features, you can get a lot more phone for 600 bucks. For the same price, you could get a Pixel 7 or probably Pixel 8 by the time it comes out. You could get a refurbished Galaxy S23. You could get any number of OnePlus phones. I just don't think this is anywhere near the top of the list for 600 bucks. And really, that's the shame of it. Being a brand new phone company is really hard, unless your name is Carl Pei, apparently. And so I wish there was a world where the awesome OV1 could just exist and could thrive and a small niche community could love it. But now instead, this becomes the perfect embodiment of crypto in 2023. At best, ahead of its time, but at worst, completely useless to most everyday people and gives whatever else is going to follow it an even harder uphill battle. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one. Peace.